So what all these means to us would be, sorry, so I might have skipped a few slides. I'll go back to this. And because of that, our institution start to promote research quite a lot recently in order to fulfill the government's requirement before we can transition towards the private U. So in our division, we have 4 strategic research areas, one of which would be language pedagogies. But we have around 77 lecturers in our division, but only a small portion of us, I would say roughly 1/7 of our academic staff undertake research or active research activities, including writing up journal papers, going to conferences, leading workshops, etc. And aside from that, we have other areas like studying minority languages, digital humanities, as well as language arts and literature. So as I said, there are roughly 77 language teachers, including Chinese, English, Korean, and Japanese teachers. So we have a large portion of EAP, lecturers in this institution with only a teaching track available. And then our EAP teams have to serve other academic departments such as business, psychology, accounting, engineering, and so on, aside from our own division. And then our practitioners are teaching intensive, meaning that aside from what the contract has asked us to undertake, let's say 15 hours a semester, which means 15 hours a week, sometimes we have to go over the hours. So that's what we call the additional assignment with additional pay, of course, but still teaching 15 hours can be a very daunting task for many teachers. So how are we going to have space and time to do, research or even talk about research or read papers or publications? Okay, and because we teach in large teaching teams, there is a subject leader who is, overseeing the whole process. He or she can't control how we teach, but they can control what kind of materials we are using. So, for example, I am a linguist, but I can't, design my own teaching materials for the students to use unless I share all the materials with them, and I need to make my materials clear and easy to follow for all the colleagues to follow. So we have very limited control. But then in 2019, we have some kind of an enhanced productive, I have to use like quote unquote, scholar schemes. So for those who would want to shift towards what we call the research lane or lane B. So the teaching intensive staff will be lane A, and we are lane B right now. We have to undergo a few shifts, so which is quite a dramatic change to me. So we have to shift to a research-focused role on a 3-year period, and the situation is changing, but still, we are appraised based on our research, or intellectual contributions. And we also need to shift to undergraduate teaching. So as the, community college lecturers, we were teaching sub-degree mainly, but then in order to be eligible for this scheme, we have to shift towards the undergraduate teaching role. And in terms of performance, when we were lane A, 90% of our appraisal was, focused on teaching performance, of course, and then the 10% would be any intellectual contribution. But then when we shift to lane B, it will be, 70% teaching and 30% research. And I don't know why. So when we are research intensive lecturers, why aren't we appraised based on, more of our research performance? And there are also like ambiguities and uncertainties in terms of what it means to be, scholarship. Because to us, to the management, scholarship would mean securing funds or simply publication. So now we have colleagues who can have 69, 70 publications every year. Okay, so you can imagine what it means. So maybe he is not the single author, or he or she is not a single author, but then he or she keeps working with different people, crossing disciplines in order to get their work published. So we have a very limited view on what it means by scholarship. And tell you what, uh, monographs don't count. Yeah, so if any of us manage to write a full-length monograph, we won't be appraised as, satisfactory because we aren't publishing in top-tier, quote-unquote, journals. Okay, and the researcher status is not reflected in the job title, as I mentioned. And then there is no clear pathway in the research lane. So as I said, 3 years ago, I applied for a promotion, but then at that time, I was told they would like to have a senior lecturer that leads academic programs, but not doing research. And then 2 years ago, I applied for the same post again, and then they wanted someone who does a lot of research. So there is no clear pathway. So how are we going forward, or whether we are punished or not if we aren't, publishing enough? Okay, so the impact on us would be something like this. So for example, when we want to maintain the sustainability of the financial health of the college, we have to consider, cutting costs. One of them would be language teachers. So we are considered expensive because we don't produce we don't produce intellectual contributions as much as other colleagues in other divisions. And then on top of the 18-hour, 21-hour teaching, we are asked to do more research, do some research to complete the profile. But then over the years, because we are a teaching intensive institution, we kept being asked to teach a lot. So we simply don't have time to even think about what it means to be doing research. Okay, so the precarity, as I found from the interviews of my colleagues, would be, not just doing research, but balancing the lengthy teaching periods or the long teaching hours and the quote unquote service roles. We have to undertake different program leadership or student activities, or even like organizing conference like me. Okay, so we see these, works as service roles. So how are we going to balance all these? Okay, another precarity would be teaching load impacting research time and opportunities. And then the pressure to achieve research excellence, although we don't have a clear metric or career implication. So it's quite different from other contexts in terms of precarity, in that maybe it's the job stability, maybe, the adjunct thing or the visiting lecturer thing. And simply we get asked to do everything, even we have the full-time job offer. Okay, so I'll ask my colleagues what the motivations are for transitioning. So some of the reflections are quite similar to myself. So they all want to claim the researcher identity and to, pursue the research goals. Because of the job title that doesn't reflect their status, they want to, uh, make the a PhD worthwhile. So many of our colleagues have had a PhD already, and after years of teaching, they need they took time to pick research back up, so they want to reclaim this identity. And obviously, we want to improve our EAP teaching through research. Well, not simply through engaging in research, but engaging with research would be more than enough to us if we don't have a lot of time to undertake research. So we can, squeeze some time to read or chat with our colleagues in order to be informed about different theoretical or conceptual tools that may be able to, inform or improve teaching. And we also seek professional development and recognition beyond teaching-focused roles. So aside from the challenges, so what do we do to cope with the challenges? So something that is more, personal, more individualistic, in that it has a lot to do with self-discipline, time management, and motivation, and not to say some sacrifice. Sometimes we have to work until very late at night, but I'm not complaining. So if it's out of passion, I think that's fine. But if we're asked to do extra without, extra incentives, that is another thing. And then we also look for collaborations without sacrificing our own expertise. So many of us would think about, doing interdisciplinary research and seek support from the institution. And some of us will be very strategic to think about how to align with the institutional priorities and corroborate the emerging trends. Like right now, maybe we think a lot about how to incorporate AI in language education, or whether we are using AI for marking. We are developing platforms which is AI informed. And again, I'm questioning that, but still there are colleagues who are, going in that direction, trying to cope with the publication pressure by, following the emerging educational trends. Okay, some of us would adopt an entrepreneur mindset. So I think Alex has something to say about this, and because it's not supposed to be what we are going after. But anyway, this kind of mindset also helps us think about pressure more positively, or the, upcoming challenges about what the reviewers think about our proposals or our articles in more positive ways. So we have to sell the research ideas to secure funding, and we also think of ways to strengthen collaborative relationships, not just among peers, not just among colleagues in the same division, but across the divisions, or across institutions. Okay, again, something more internal. So these colleagues will also demonstrate proactive, resourceful, and socially motivated attributes.